I'm Susan Dunn Cobb, bringing you the news you really need to hear. At the moment, no child is safe, and we are going to change that. This is a special Memorial Day newscast where we're going to remember the America our soldiers died for, the Constitution they fought to protect for you and I. Two of my own children are veterans, and I'm very proud of that and of them. I start off with two veteran stories. There are many, but these two are special for very personal reasons. My top story involves some very good friends of mine, Mark and Terry Stamen, and I want to recognize Stu Peters, the media broadcaster, who has made the recent decision to cover CPS kidnapping issues. My friend Crystal Nuttall also forwarded me their story with this very accurate comment. She states, "This is one of the most valuable reports that I've ever seen. It explains very well what has been happening with the family court CPS racket in this country for decades. People who are not familiar with the illicit actions of the family court CPS racket can gain some instrumental insights from this video interview. The children were victimized by false arrest and false imprisonment. When expert diagnosis was furnished to the court by independent, qualified, state-certified experts, it was ignored by the court. Instead, the court chose to use a claimed diagnosis by someone who was employed by the court. Being employed by the court, the protection of being independent was destroyed. People who are hired to perform a service are automatically influenced to want to please their employer in order to gain further business from that employer." Coercion is typically employed by the racket after abducting the children to influence the parents to comply with their illicit demands, with the implication that if they do, their children may be returned to their homes. The guilty parties who committed these crimes should be publicly exposed and vilified. Keeping their identity secret is not helpful to the cause of freedom and liberty. The crimes mentioned in this video come under U.S. Code Title 18, Section 242. They are felonies, and as the law states, the perpetrators should go to prison or possibly be executed. Rights violated. The right to face your accusers. The right to a jury trial. The rights of the children as citizens of the United States were taken into custody under false arrest and placed into false imprisonment, even though they were not even accused of having committed any crimes. None of the people were. Crystal's opinion is accurate, but of course there's much more to the story. This is one of the most egregious violations I've heard, and I come in contact with the worst. Because I'm so close to them as personal friends, I remain infuriated at what continues to be done to their children, but I'm very glad they are continuing interviews. It is at great personal cost, but they are both top representatives of this cause and are making a huge difference for everyone. Watch the interview if you're able. The very condensed version is, this is about a retired Air Force veteran and homeschooling mom. Both college educated, no crime record or vices of any kind, faith-based family, loving couple with healthy, happy kids, but their kids were stolen in an instant and for absolutely no reason. Then Mark was jailed with no charges and no crimes, but told he would stay there until his wife released the children to the state. They never believed they wouldn't get them back right away and that everything would be quickly cleared up. But next, they were personally threatened, as were their family members who tried to assist. Children were never returned and never seen again. All legal avenues were exhausted, and after 5 years, they realized our present system offers no answers and no relief. The Stamens decided they needed to go public. To this day, they are trolled by those who stole their children, and they are hunted for more and more child support, although half of Mark's retirement already is taken for it. What has this couple done after Mark has served his entire life on behalf of his country and the Constitution he believes it is his duty to protect? A lot. And they're willing to share it all on their webpage, letourchildrengo.org, all one word. They have not forsaken their faith and have become top activists, assisting all parents with support for the grief and disbelief they encounter after children are stolen. Mark and Terry, operating as one in Christ, continue to bravely defend our Constitution against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. I hope you get a better understanding as just how evil Child Protection Services is towards veterans. Another veteran story is Shannon Michelle Henderson, who is facing prison at the moment, threat of prison, along with all of her veterans' widow benefits suddenly being discontinued. So, because of that, she now faces immediate homelessness. Why is she facing prison? Well, it's one way to shut up the whistleblowers, especially the good ones. Shannon works around the clock as an investigative reporter, trying anything and everything to uncover the corruption by those individuals, those officials, who are ultimately responsible for taking children. She holds onto the slim but desperate hope that she can rescue her missing daughter, if that child is even alive. What happened to her? When her military husband died, her child was stolen for the veterans' benefits. Now they are falsely accusing Shannon of fraud for the survivors' benefits that she received these last few years, and the government has also tacked on huge fines. She was ordered to pay $64,000. I will post the stories and links relating to that. But on this Memorial Day, please realize what's happening to veterans in America everywhere. For those who don't have Facebook, Shannon's story is on this Twitter link. Bringing you an exciting conclusion to our top story the last 2 months is the great news that the case has been closed for baby Cyrus Anderson in Idaho. May 4th, baby Cyrus's case has been dismissed on freedomman.org/Cyrus. You can read about it, but I will read it a bit that grandfather Diego has posted. It seems insider whistleblowers were just too much for this criminal cartel to want to take on. This is my opinion. Or maybe it was the national and international involvement in the resistance to the kidnapping. Good. Diego Rodriguez wanted to give a quick update on more good news. He states, "First of all, my daughter Miranda's criminal case has been dismissed. As you may remember, she was fraudulently charged with resisting and obstruction after officers assaulted her, ripped her arms through the truck window, and then handcuffed her with double locks while she was first told she was being arrested for felony injury to a child. And then after she said, "That's not my child," the moronic officer Kenneth Cagle then told her she was under arrest for falsification because she said baby Cyrus was not her kid. It wasn't her kid. Yeah, those boys in blue are that unbelievably incompetent. Anyhow, the case has been dismissed. Guess I figured out she wasn't lying. My other daughter, Marissa, baby Cyrus's actual mother, also has a resisting and obstruction charge against her, though that case has not been dropped yet. We ask your continual prayers for that case. You can see the videos of how my daughters were abused by Meridian Police here, and I'm posting the link. But it's on freedomen.org/Cyrus/videos. Baby Cyrus is doing better. He's still sick with his cyclical vomiting syndrome, however. Nobody knows what it is or what causes it. They just know that it is a syndrome that people get, and they have certain ways they mitigate the symptoms. I have another update from a story from last month. This is getting to be somewhat entertaining, except for the obvious suffering that continues with innocent children. Nothing funny about that. CBS 2's Chris Ty has covered the DCFS for years. On Tuesday, he reported there are some fresh calls for DCFS Director Mark Smith to step down. Reading from that, Smith has now been held in contempt of court 10 times for the mismanagement of kids in his care. Those who monitored the department for decades say this has never happened once before, let alone 10 times in less than a year. We have all sorts of failures at DCFS over 30 years, but this is unprecedented to have this many contempt orders against a single agency, said State Rep Deanne Mazzocchi. These are problems that have existed with this department for decades under both Democratic and Republican governors. Well, guess what? May 24th, they just got him for the 11th time for violating court orders to move children to proper placements. Let's find out about what this is really about. The 11-year-old girl at the center of the case has been in the care of DCFS since she was 5. In those 6 years, according to the Cook County Public Guardian, who represents the girl in court, she has been placed in an abusive foster home, emergency foster homes, psychiatric hospitals, residential placements, shelters, and emergency rooms. On April 12th, the girl was at school and said she wanted to kill herself. I'm telling you, this kid is a survivor to last that long. According to a news release from the Cook County Public Guardian's office, when she got home, she made a noose and tried to slip it around her neck. She was taken to a hospital. After she'd been in a hospital emergency room for 2 days, a judge ordered DCFS to take her out of the hospital and put her in a psychiatric hospital or a secure residential facility. Despite that court order, the girl stayed in the emergency room for 2 more days before she was moved to a temporary shelter where she remained Friday. During her 4 days in the emergency room, the girl repeatedly made suicidal statements, tried to run away, and became physically aggressive, the release stated. Medical staff administered 5 medications to calm her. This child joins 10 others whose cases are the basis for contempt citations. The judge in each case ordered DCFS to move the children to appropriate settings where they could receive treatment and services, but they remained in inappropriate settings despite those court orders and the agency's own recommendations. 4 of those citations have been purged, meaning those children have been moved into the recommended placements. It sounds like the state has no idea how to handle the backlash from all the child removals that they've been doing, but they will blame the child for now being crazy. Last week, a child that Capital News Illinois identified as Leah to protect her identity was the subject of a case that led to the 10th contempt citation against Smith. Leah remains in a locked psychiatric hospital. What are we doing to America's children? The soul of this nation is incredibly sick. There is no better litmus test than our children. In addition to all of these contempt charges, an employee of this director, who happens to make more money than the director does, was just arrested for some serious crimes. The second bit of bad news comes out of Montgomery County, where, according to WICS News Channel 20, DCFS employee 40-year-old Brett A. Wexton of Nokomis was arrested Thursday by Montgomery County authorities for 5 counts of possession and distribution of child pornography. WAND-TV reports that the crime occurred on September 20th of last year and that the arrest was made yesterday after a search warrant was executed at a residence in Nokomis. WAND TV says that police say that Wexton admitted to the crime. According to state online salary records obtained by WICS, Wexton is an information services specialist with DCFS that worked a help desk in the agency. The Montgomery County State's Attorney Office told WICS that Wexton is also a coach for a girls' sports team. Next up is Fox 29 San Antonio reports a Bexar County judge issued bench warrants for several CPS workers within the past few days. Sophia Gallegos was ordered to show up with staff and any equipment needed so that she could work on finding placement for a 15-year-old child. An area director of placement for Child Protective Services CPS didn't show up, as Judge Mary Lou Alvarado ordered to work in the 45th Judicial District courtroom to ensure that she found a placement, which was not a hotel room, for the 15-year-old girl. I mean, you got 13-year-olds in a motel, says Liz Campos, State Rep, District 119. Fox San Antonio has followed, they're calling her Nancy's story for more than a month. When she escaped from the hotel room, the CPS was keeping her and other children, known as CWOP, or Children Without Placement. Nancy was found in another hotel after she was shot in the neck. She was with another CWOP girl in the company of 2 men. Those 2 girls should have never been alone in the hotel room with 2 adults, says Jose Menendez, State Senator, District 26. Within hours of getting shot, Nancy was in a CPS office and ran again, attempting suicide by sitting in the middle of Zarzamora Street, all while under the custody of CPS. After Sofia Gallegos, the placement director, didn't show up to court, Judge Alvarez signed a bench warrant for her and 2 other CPS employees. This kind of makes me happy. Carrie Wilcoxon, Child Abuse Prevention Policy Advocate, says that Judge Alvarez is doing what all judges across the state should be doing, holding the Department of Family Protection Services and CPS accountable for bad choices. Isn't that what they always say parents do? Can you imagine the pain, the suffering, and the mental anguish? Some of these children feel like trash, like they don't even need to be around. They make decisions because they don't feel that they should even live, says Menendez. Catherine Wang Anderson sent me this from Daily Wire. Mary Margaret Olahan reporting that Health and Human Services Secretary Xavier Becerra is defending irreversible transgender sex change surgeries for children, following White House messaging that early transgender surgeries, hormone treatment, and affirmations are crucial for the health of kids and teens who identify as transgender or non-binary. Did you know this? Now you do. White House also has published that transgender surgeries, hormones, and affirmations are important because these procedures have been shown to increase positive outcomes for transgender and non-binary children and adolescents. Gender-affirming care is patient-centered and treats individuals holistically, aligning their outward physical traits with their gender identity, the White House messaging sheet added. Commentators, lawmakers, people who identify as transgender, and people who formally attempted transitions have expressed grave concerns about encouraging children or young people to explore transitions of any kind. So, are you prepared to protect your children from those who claim to be your government authorities? You will have to. We, the people, need to alter or abolish any government that has become tyrannical and oppressive. This gets my vote. On the tail of that is an interesting piece of news Catherine Wang Anderson found in dailymail.com. Woman, 27, who had a mastectomy and took male hormones for 6 years, is detransitioning back to being female after realizing being a man didn't represent who she is. Aliyah Ismail, 27, from Michigan, is detransitioning back to female. At age 18, she had realized she was not comfortable in the body she was born in. She underwent surgery and went by a male name, Isa, but now is using Aliyah again. The 27-year-old realized being male identity Isa did not represent who she was. By the way, Isa in Arabic translates to the Messiah or Jesus Christ, son of Mary. She did choose a good name when she attempted to become a man. We all certainly hope she is able to eventually find herself. I say that sincerely. Moving right along, my next story comes to us from Catherine Wang Anderson, and with it, I would like to introduce a segment I call, Who Are the People in Your Neighborhood? It's good to know the ones running the show, eh? So, 60-year-old president of Goshen, Ohio School Board, meeting an 11-year-old, was uploaded to YouTube and Facebook Saturday night by the groups PCI Predator Catchers Indianapolis and PCM Predator Catchers Muncie. John Gray resigned after a video posted online shows Gray being handcuffed by sheriff's deputies in Indiana in what is being called a deeply disturbing video. In the video, Gray said he traveled around 2 hours from Cincinnati to meet with an 11-year-old girl he had been messaging. Sheriff's office is still investigating. And Shannon sent me this from WABI 5. Elliot Cutler makes first court appearance in child pornography possession case May 3rd and faces 4 counts of illegal possession of sexually explicit material of a minor under 12 years of age. Cutler, 75, was an attorney and former advisor to President Jimmy Carter and Senator Ed Muskie. Cutler ran twice as an independent for Maine's governor in 2010 and 2014. Both Shannon and Catherine sent me this from KTTN News. And Shannon states why reporting through proper channels is a myth. When you have a problem and you report it, as we're trained as good citizens to do. A Missouri man who spent more than 30 years working as a deputy juvenile officer in Missouri State Court has been indicted in United States District Court on a felony charge of sex trafficking of a minor. Scott F. Burrell, 62, of Hannibal, was indicted on May 18. The indictment alleges that between March 25, 2020 and April 2, 2020, he solicited a minor to engage in commercial activity. A detention motion says the female victim was 15 years old and was a ward of the state of Illinois. The motion alleges that Burrell met the victim via a dating app and picked her up and brought her to his home in Hannibal, where he committed the offenses of statutory rape and statutory sodomy while secretly videotaping her, the motion alleges. FBI is seeking assistance from community to find additional victims. 30 years, probably. 30 years worth of victims. Nashville, Tennessee, WKRN. A Putnam County commissioner is facing child pornography charges after he was arrested at his home Thursday. Jimmy Ray Neal, 57, of Baxter, Tennessee, was charged with possession, receipt, and distribution of child pornography. The complaint alleged Neal was an administrator of a group on the social media app Kik, K-I-K, in which sexual images of children were viewed and shared with other users. Neal allegedly went under the username Tennessee Master. If convicted, Neal would be faced with a mandatory minimum of 5 years to 20 years in prison. A special prosecutor on Friday charged former Alaska Attorney General designee Ed Sniffen with 3 counts of third-degree sexual abuse of a minor. Third-degree sexual abuse of a minor is a Class C felony punishable by 2 to 12 years in prison. At about 3 p.m. on Friday, the governor's office issued a statement saying Sniffen had removed himself for consideration as Attorney General and will be leaving state service. Sniffen is the second Alaska Attorney General to step down within the past 6 months, amid a Daily News and ProPublica investigation into their interactions with women. Why does this matter? Well, Alaska has the highest rate of sexual assault in the nation, and the appointed Attorney General oversees all criminal prosecutions in the state. This next story Shannon has entitled, Who Prosecutes the Prosecutor? NewsTribune.com reports Fulton prosecuting attorney Eric Qualls, 33, was arrested on suspicion of fourth-degree assault Wednesday evening. According to a statement from the Callaway County Sheriff's Office, the Fulton Police Department requested the sheriff investigate reports of an assault at a business in a 100 block of East 5th Street. FPD officers had identified Qualls as a suspect, and the police chief, Bill Ladwig, requested an outside agency investigate. Yeah, who would prosecute the prosecutor? A Callaway County Sheriff's Office criminal investigator took over the investigation. As a result of the investigation, Qualls surrendered around 9 p.m. Wednesday. He was booked and processed at the Callaway County Jail on suspicion of fourth-degree assault. He was issued a summons and released pending a court appearance in the 13th Associate Circuit Court of Callaway County on July 8th. The Fulton prosecuting attorney is an elected position. His bio states he is a mental health advocate. I think he needs Jesus. Las Vegas family court attorney was arrested Thursday on a warrant charging him with 5 counts of open and gross lewdness, police said. Douglas Crawford, 67, who works at a law firm in the 500 block of South 7th Street, was booked into the Clark County Detention Center, according to a Metropolitan Police Department news release. Crawford has been a member of the State Bar of Nevada since 1985. His law license is now active, but it was suspended in 2009. So listen to the part that comes next. The bar recommended disbarring Crawford, and the Nevada Supreme Court suspended him for 5 years in 2009, according to Las Vegas Review-Journal archives. In 2011, he pleaded guilty to stealing $304,831 from clients. The then suspended personal injury attorney was charged in 2010 with stealing from several clients. Crawford resigned from his position as a law clerk for then Family Court Judge Jennifer Elliott after pleading guilty. He said he stole from clients to support gambling, alcohol, and drug addictions, according to Review Journal archives. Oh, I guess it's Las Vegas, right? So they let him remain an attorney after all of that. Can you believe it? He's going to give attorneys a bad name. Oh, wait. No. Everyone's opinion of the profession will not be affected by this at all. Shannon sent me this from my state, Florida. TrueCrimeDaily.com reports Bellevue, Florida. A 71-year-old man who volunteers for a children's charity stands accused of sexual battery against a child. According to a news release from the Marion County Sheriff's Office, on Monday, May 16th, authorities learned about allegations against James Davis, claiming he sexually abused a juvenile victim over the past year. The victim was allegedly interviewed and disclosed that Davis inappropriately touched and sexually battered him multiple times in exchange for toys, art supplies, and money. The victim reportedly told authorities Davis said he'd done this to other victims and had offered him gifts and money so that he would not tell anyone about the abuse. Davis, who volunteers as the treasurer for Florida Kids Helping Kids, hid from law enforcement in Dalton, Georgia, the sheriff's office says. On May 25th, Davis was reportedly found and arrested. He was transported to the Whitfield County Jail and remains held without bond. Davis will eventually be transported to the Marion County Jail, according to the sheriff's office. In their news release, the sheriff's office says they believe others may have been abused by Davis and have asked the public's help with identifying more victims. Who are the people in your neighborhood? The people that you meet. The people that you greet. Catherine Wang Anderson sent me this from ToledoBlade.com. Parents sue Lucas County Children's Services after 4-month-old dies in foster care. On November 15, 2019, Ms. Redmond gave birth to Quentrell. She believed she'd be able to take her son home, but shortly after delivery, the mother was informed by LCCS that it was against their policy to allow her to take the infant to live in a domestic violence shelter, the complaint states. Just 6 days after his birth, a custody hearing was held in Lucas County Juvenile Court, where LCCS caseworker Nicholas Good, a named defendant in Ms. Redmond's lawsuit, testified that Quentrell was taken away from his mother for mental health, physical abuse, and housing reasons. Ms. Redmond did not attend the hearing and claimed she was unaware it was taking place. Secret courts take children all the time. Quentrell was placed in the custody of his foster mother, Ms. Nix. Ms. Redmond subsequently claimed she began to see myriad issues with the care of her son. During one visit, she reported he lacked sufficient clothing and was brought to the visits without enough food. On another occasion, she found blood and visible signs of a diaper rash while changing Quentrell. Ms. Redmond repeatedly raised these concerns to LCCS caseworkers, but claims nothing was done, and it never is. The subject of a lawsuit filed in U.S. District Court in Toledo by his parents, Jamie Redmond and Quentin Witzel, who alleged Lucas County Children's Services failed to ensure their son received medical treatment following a car accident and allowed him to attend Dana Mikonowitz Daycare, a center with a history of failing to comply with care standards. Ms. Redmond repeatedly raised these concerns to LCCS caseworkers, but claims nothing was done. On March 19, 2020, Ms. Redmond was informed that her son had died. As Quentrell slowly died in his swing, defendant Lucas County Children's Services and its employees, agents, and/or representatives ignored the cries for help made by plaintiff Redmond. Ms. Redmond's complaint reads, the Lucas County Coroner's Office was unable to determine the cause of Quentrell's death. ruling it a sudden, unexpected infant death. According to the complaint, LCCS failed to notify the prosecutor's office or the police to investigate the infant's death. By the way, they almost never do. State's liability. That's why. I call the next one Ultimate Justice. This story comes from Shannon and KJZZ Phoenix, who reports that former Maricopa attorney Alistair Adele dies at 45. If you have followed her dishonorable career, you will understand how so many who've been seriously harmed by her will have a hard time feeling sadness at her passing. A little bit of good news possibly, at least some to restore faith in part of the justice system. The Louisville Courier-General reports that a Barron County Family Court judge has found the State Cabinet for Health and Family Services in contempt of court for the second time in 3 months, this time over its failure to follow a court order to return a child to her mother in another state. Yeah, they do this. In a blistering order made public Monday, Judge Micah Wood Pence also found 2 cabinet employees in contempt for lying under oath at a hearing about their role in the case, recommending authorities look into whatever criminal sanctions they deem to be appropriate. And she directed a formal complaint to the Kentucky Bar Association against the cabinet's lawyer, Jennifer Clay, for alleged unethical behavior in the case, including possible malpractice. And that's what she did. And we say, get him, Judge. Shannon sent me this from swimswam.com. She adds, foster and fraud adopted children get grants for free swim lessons. Did you know this? I didn't. A swim coach, John Glenn Chippaneri of San Rafael, California, was booked into Marin County Jail on a suspicion of arranging to meet a minor for sex. He was released on $50,000 bail. Chippaneri, 59, responded to a fake online ad to express interest in paying a 16-year-old girl for sex, according to the San Rafael Police Department. Chippaneri recently coached swimming at Marin Academy in San Rafael, and police also noted he taught swimming with a private club. Families resist. Stop CPS corruption rally at the California State Capitol. This was a protest held in Sacramento, California, and I'm posting some pieces of videos. I'm hoping that you will watch it. The speakers had much to say. If you're interested in this cause and you follow this cause, you will be encouraged and cheered. And they had a tremendous crowd. They had a great representation. And I have been at the Capitol protesting, the one in Sacramento before. So I'm really happy to see this. Michelle Chan has a lot to do with this, and others, and they will be in the videos. This is future news, but you need to know it now. Another protest happening in D.C., July 14th. Broken Girl Unchained presents Mother Glowing in the Darkness with Punished for Protecting, Francesca Amato. Mothers will meet in the Congressional Hearing Auditorium to demand Congress stop separating their children. This will be at 11 a.m., and they will also meet in the evening at dark. They will be glowing with their brightest light, piercing the darkness and restoring mothers to their children and children to their mothers. There is a limited capacity of 200 in the congressional meeting. If you want to get on the list to be inside for that, please contact Francesca quickly, and I'm posting what you need to know to get to it. I'm posting a great resource found by Shannon Henderson, kidjack.com. It really helps to understand kidnapping for profit in America. So if you get a chance, open this one up and check it out. Slavery is alive and well. Got kids? Still? Tyrone Williams Jr., 49. This is from NBC, Channel 5. Officer accused of assaulting teen sex trafficking victim multiple times, Dallas PD. So Tyrone Williams was booked into jail on a charge of sexual assault of a child nearly a year after being arrested over a similar allegation. This was published May 20th. A Dallas police officer accused of assaulting multiple children took in a 14-year-old girl and repeatedly raped her in 2011 after the man who trafficked her was arrested, police allege. According to a report by the Dallas Morning News, Officer Tyrone Williams was booked into the Dallas County Jail this week on a second charge of sexual assault of a child. The first charge was filed last June when he surrendered to authorities after the daughter of a family friend said he forced himself on her in May while she was sleeping, according to court records. He was also accused by an attorney of assaulting at least 2 other underage girls for a total of 4, but the status of those 2 cases wasn't clear Thursday. Police said Tuesday that additional victims were identified in June, but didn't say why it took nearly a year to file the second charge. Williams' attorney, Scotty Allen, said in a prepared statement that Williams is an exemplary officer and said good officers aren't immune from patently false and totally unsupported allegations. Makes me wonder what his definition of good is. These young ladies were severely troubled youth with a myriad of disciplinary and mental health issues, he wrote. What's even more troubling than their stories is the fact that there are those who would use them for profit and to vindicate their petty politics. We look forward to bringing this case before the proper tribunal as quickly as possible for full and complete vindication. Well, now we know his defense strategy. Let's see what he is up against, shall we? Attorney Hunt Bono contacted Dallas police on June 21st, a week after Williams was arrested on the first charge, to report that the officer had assaulted 3 other girls, all of whom police interviewed that same day, police wrote in an arrest warrant affidavit. Kelly Smith writes, Bono told the Dallas Morning News that Williams assaulted the 3 girls over a period of 5 to 10 years. He said that the girls contacted Dallas police, Lancaster police, and Child Protective Services years ago, but nothing was done. The Texas Department of Family Protective Services declined to comment on specifics of the case, but said its procedure in cases like this for victims to undergo an examination before the case is referred to law enforcement. Lancaster police said they could not find any record of the case in their system. Dallas police did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Well, looky there, no records. See how this all works for the boys in blue, or the boys in Congress, or the boys in any position of higher authority over defenseless citizens for that matter? When you ask the question, how did they even survive, that in itself is amazing, Bono said. These 3 minor girls were raped repeatedly over several years, and when they reported to a number of different authorities, they didn't believe them. As a result, he stayed on the street, and he did it again to someone else. Bono said police need a system that ensures predators stay off the force. Yeah, we'd like that for a few occupations involving custody of children, wouldn't we? In the case for which he was arrested this week, Williams is accused of assaulting a teenage girl for about 7 months in 2011. He was friends with the girl's mother, and he and another officer recovered her after she ran away from home and was found at a motel, the affidavit says. The girl was a victim of sex trafficking, and police arrested her trafficker, who was convicted on a charge of prostitution of a child and sentenced to 12 years in prison, according to the affidavit. The girl went to a juvenile facility, and she later told authorities that her mother visited her there and told her that she, the mother, would be living with Williams when she was released. This is the officer that was arrested, the affidavit says. The girl began to live with Williams and his daughter in January 2011, according to the affidavit. Police said Williams was listed as her guardian in school records. The girl told authorities she felt safe with Williams because he's a police officer, the affidavit says. But on her first night with him, she said, he gave her a long t-shirt to wear, then later undressed and raped her. The girl said Williams repeatedly came home during his lunch break over the next several months and assaulted her. She reported that she thought Williams would kill her if she told anyone about the abuse, adding that he told her he knows how to make people come up missing, the affidavit says. This threat against life is almost always a part of traffickers. The groomers know how to place these few remarks at just the right places in the relationship. I have first-hand experience. This is what they do. She told authorities that he also threatened to tell the man who trafficked her where she lived, the affidavit says. The assaults ended when Williams was deployed on military duty and the girl went to live with her uncle. Enter now witness number 3. We're going to bypass the mother's statement as this cop was her live-in boyfriend. So I'm reading. Police also spoke with the girl's uncle who told them the relationship between Williams and his niece was very weird and improper, adding that the girl used to video chat with Williams and write him letters that were not normal while he was deployed overseas. He told police that it bothered him so much that he wanted to beat up Williams. The uncle said he found a letter the girl had written to Williams telling him she was using birth control. The uncle said he confronted Williams, and Williams never gave a direct answer, according to the affidavit. This won't look good on your future resume or in your court trial, Mr. Pedophile Cop. You're going to make it harder on your attorney. He remains in jail and he remains with the department on administrative leave while police conduct an internal investigation. He is an exemplary officer, after all. May 25th, Shannon Henderson sent this from Channel 7, KDAT, Action News. Sandoval County, New Mexico. A Sandoval County Sheriff's deputy has been arrested after an investigation of child sexual exploitation by the New Mexico Attorney General's Office. According to the Attorney General's Office, agents with the Internet Crimes Against Children Unit received cyber tips from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. During the investigation of that tip, the Attorney General's Office found the suspect was Robert Strand, a deputy with the Sandoval County Sheriff's Office. The Attorney General's Office said that while they were executing a search warrant, they found images of child sexual abuse on devices allegedly belonging to Strand. Images found during the investigation depicted children as small as infants. He had received a Sheriff's Unit Citation Award only 2 months previous. Then there's the DA. Contra Costa County DA Diana Beckton's husband named an underage sex suit. Lawyers for an alleged victim of child sex abuse by an employee of Bethlehem Missionary Baptist Church of Richmond wants California Attorney General Rob Bonta to investigate the allegations because of the church's connection to Contra Costa County District Attorney Diana Beckton. Yeah, well, taking on the DA is tricky business, and I'm really curious why the continued use of the word alleged, since the guy is doing time right now for the crime against this alleged victim. Anyways, the unnamed alleged victim has filed a lawsuit in Contra Costa County against Pastor Alvin C. Bernstein, former church employee Jesse Armstrong, and Bethlehem Missionary Baptist Church of Richmond for alleged sex abuse by Armstrong in or around 2011 when she was 14. The statement from the victim's lawyers at Manley, Stewart, and Finaldi says Armstrong is a registered sex offender in the state of California and currently incarcerated for 2 years and 8 months in connection with his sexual abuse of the plaintiff. You catch that? He's doing time for his alleged crime of the alleged victim. The lawsuit alleges Armstrong was twice convicted of sexually abusing at least 5 minor girls before Bernstein hired Armstrong to be a youth choir director at the church. Armstrong was a convicted child molester at the time he was hired by Pastor Bernstein in the Bethlehem Missionary Baptist Church, and he was hired to work with children as a youth choir director, the release said. Even a minimal background check would have revealed that fact. Either they hired him with no background check, which is the height of negligence, or they knew of his criminal background and hired him anyway, which could expose them to criminal liability. And Bernstein is married to Contra Costa County District Attorney Deanna Beckton. Schools work hand in hand with CPS to remove children from their families. They will report you when your child is sick about going to school. I wonder why they may be sick. Here's a clue. Shannon sends me this from WRTV, Indianapolis. American Legion Deputy Director, one of 11 arrested in child sex sting operation in Johnson County. Jeff L. Hendricks of Unionville, the Deputy Director of the Americanism Division for the American Legion, was placed on administrative leave and later terminated after he was named as a suspect in the case, according to Kimberly Meesters, Director of the organization's National Marketing Division. Hendricks' LinkedIn profile says he has worked for the American Legion since February 2018, managing programs that serve over 1 million youth nationwide. Shannon found this from KTXL Fox 40, Vacaville, California. A Vacaville attorney has been charged in a number of sex crimes involving children. As an attorney for more than 20 years in California, James Haskell has made a name for himself, especially in the Vacaville community. According to his biography on the Reynolds Law website, he's a partner in the law firm, a member of the Rotary Club, the Chamber of Commerce, and even the Boy Scouts. You cannot recognize a disguised predator, said Donna Hughes, CEO of Enough is Enough. Boy, that is a true statement. Remember, they are very intelligent. Last week, Haskell was met with 13 charges, 9 of them felonies. According to the charging documents, he is accused of assault, committing sex crimes on a child, and child abuse. The documents also claim Haskell strangled, pushed, kicked, and forced a child younger than 10 years old to sleep in the bathroom. Hughes, an advocate for child safety, said these habits are common with successful type people. That gives them more access to kids and to unsuspecting teens, and also to those children's unsuspecting parents. This next one comes from Shannon and talk about weaponized CPS. Well, listen to this. Aurora, Colorado. An Aurora City Council member is accusing the partner of former Aurora Police Chief Vanessa Wilson of making a false accusation against her concerning her toddler after the councilwoman made critical remarks about Wilson's performance. Robin Niceta, Wilson's partner, now has a warrant out for her arrest. These are all ladies. Aurora City Council member Danielle Jurinsky claimed that Niceta falsely accused Jurinsky of unlawful sexual contact with her own child. The accusations against Jurinsky were unfounded, according to Niceta's arrest affidavit. Niceta is facing charges of retaliation against an elected official and making a false report. Niceta, 40, resigned from her position as a social worker and case manager with Arapahoe County on May 4th with a brief letter that read, "Please take this email as my immediate resignation from Arapahoe County. I appreciate the last 5 years and I wish you both the very best." So what she did is it's in the link. You might want to read this story. I didn't copy it all down to read, but it was quite involved how she tried to set up this councilwoman. Tricky. And then it was pretty sharp on the part of the cops how they uncovered what she had done. It used to super sleuthing. So you might want to read this one. But she later turned herself into police and is now out on bond. So we have a lesbian police chief and her social worker and case manager partner who takes children away, who was just arrested for attacking a city council member for retaliation because she didn't like what she said. Taking children away for false reasons happens every day, but usually it isn't quite like this. But why not? Anything is possible when your job is removing people's children or running the police force. This is thecrimерeport.org about missing foster kids being at risk of substance abuse and sex trafficking. How many who read this will believe they are just bad kids? When kids are removed suddenly from their homes and given to sex traffickers, abusers, or pedophiles, the stats would appear to be the same. There just would be no way to clearly correlate this evidence. Then, when the authority figures in a child's life are committing these crimes against that child, there becomes nowhere to turn to ask for help. Then, when they add the extra layer of threat that no one will believe you or threaten you with physical harm and death, the child then realizes they are hopelessly enslaved. This is what happens. The Officer of Inspector General for the Department of Health and Human Services recently released a report on the state of foster care, and I got this from Michael Volpe, Substack. He's placing a report in this. The shocking number of children who escape foster care suggests children are better off in the care of even the worst birth parents. The report examined the period from July 1, 2018 through December 31, 2020, 1.5 years. There were 110,446 missing children episodes during this audit period. State agencies' data showed the following. The percentages of missing children by state range from 0 to 7%. The average number of days that the children were missing ranged from 7 to 96 days. The number of children who were still missing as of December 31, 2020 was 6,619. The average number of times children went missing ranged from 1 to 7 times. And the majority, 65%, of missing children were between 15 and 17 years old. The data also showed that among the missing children, 51% were females, 48% were males, and 1% were reported without gender data or reported as transgender or undecided. On any given day, there are anywhere between 400,000 and 500,000 children in foster care, close to 500,000. Parents all over the country complain their children are taken for little or no reason. The problem is so bad in Arizona that Martin Lynch and others want to bring jury trials before children are removed from their parents' homes. And they should, do we not have a right to trial by jury and at least be charged with a crime? As the late Nancy Schaefer first pointed out over a decade ago, this is happening because federal funds have set up a system where it's profitable to take children and put them into foster care, putting them into a system where they desperately run and are often placed with predators. From the frying pan into the fire. And sometimes it's not even the frying pan. Many times it's a great home. They're just poor. Or the social worker wanted that one. Channel 10, WBNS. 128 children across Ohio have died in custody of children's services agencies since 2015. This author wrote this is Bennett Haberly. Since 2015, 128 kids have died while in the custody of public children's services agencies. Here's what a 4-part investigation entitled Caught in the Cycle found. More than 100 children in Ohio have died while in the care or custody of children's services agencies since 2015. Children in custody can hopscotch between foster homes while committing crimes, endangering public safety. Children's services agencies still make referrals to privately run behavioral treatment centers that we found have repeated incidents of violence and allegations of abuse. Keep giving them kids. These facilities rely on public dollars to stay afloat. 3 we've investigated have billed the state's Medicaid office for more than $75 million since 2015. The public agencies and their allies tell 10 investigates that in recent years, county children's services agencies have been met with increasing demand, especially with children with mental health or behavioral needs. Yeah. You think? I mean, they're going to present with something when they get put in strange situations. New research also suggests that Ohio is falling behind other states when it comes to children in the foster care system. According to an April report published by Child Defense Fund Ohio, children in our state of Ohio, are more likely than kids elsewhere to be placed in group homes or institutions when compared to the rest of the nation. Modern orphanages. The research also found kids in Ohio are more likely to be mistreated while in foster care when compared to the national standard. According to the research from Child Trends, children in Ohio's foster system are also less likely to be reunited with their families when compared to the national average. Well, that'd have to be really bad because it's almost like 98% in all the other states. According to the research, much of this article was dedicated to convincing the reader that all the kids are nuts and have severe behavioral issues. It's all their fault. The other conclusion by the professionals is they have a high turnover rate among those working within the system that removes children from their families, and they need a lot more foster homes. So, everybody needs Jesus, especially the owners of the private organizations who run group homes. But that will not be permitted as either an answer or a solution. They don't really have answers, but they offered up the standard wish list. Sorry, kids are still going to die. We will never know why. More facts you should know. Comes from Shannon Henderson, and she states, schools work hand in hand with CPS to remove children from their families. They will report you when your child is sick about going to school. Wonder why they may be sick. Okay, I think I read that earlier. It was at a wrong place, but it won't hurt. Say it again. Fox News reported at least 135 teachers and aides have been charged with child sex crimes this year alone. 102 of the cases, or 76%, involved alleged crimes against students, and at least 135 teachers and teachers' aides have been arrested so far this year in the U.S., ranging from child pornography to raping students. An analysis conducted by Fox News Digital looked at local news stories week by week featuring arrests of teachers and teachers' aides on child sex-related crimes in school districts across the country. Arrests that weren't publicized were not counted in the analysis, meaning the true number may well be higher. The vast majority of the arrested educators were men. Now that we covered the teachers, let's not forget about the religious folk. Here is a list that is 200 pages long regarding Southern Baptist Convention of workers accused of abuse. Feel free to peruse the contents at your leisure. May 19, Catherine Wang Anderson and Shannon Henderson both sent me this, published by USA Today. There are 66,000 failed adoptions at the moment, and our foster kids are nothing more than rehomed puppies. State-by-state data compiled by USA Today show that the foster system has become the leading source of adoptees in most places. Children adopted from foster care get new identification numbers to hide their histories. The result? No one knows how well each state is fulfilling its mission of finding children their forever homes. USA Today scoured a federal database to find 66,000 foster children from broken adoptions, and in some cases, see risk factors linked to failure. USA Today is continuing with their efforts to learn more about this issue, and they posted this with a form, and I'm sharing the link. Are you an adoptee, parent, community member of public and private employee who can help us learn more about adoption issues? We want to hear from you about disrupted and dissolved adoptions. Now, I would like to add that there are websites where adopted children are traded. Nothing in the system exists to check on the status of a child after he or she is adopted. Anything can happen, and it does. So 66,000 is a small number representing what actually happens after a child is taken from their protected bio families. From Catherine Wang Anderson, I received this posted by Crime Online. May 19, WGN Channel 9 News, Naperville, Illinois. The vice president of a Naperville-based human services organization named Kids Matter is facing multiple charges of child pornography. Eric Kroll, 49, was arrested Tuesday and appeared in court Wednesday following execution of a search warrant at his home near Darien. An investigation into alleged possession and distribution of child porn. DuPage County Sheriff said a forensic examination of electronics belonging to Kroll revealed pornographic files. He faces 5 counts related to child porn, all of which are Class 2 felonies. The Daily Herald reported that Kroll had 4 videos of girls apparently younger than 13 and a picture of a girl under 18. Kroll allegedly admitted to being the KIK user. Maine Doe said he also confessed to downloading and sharing illicit materials in chat rooms, according to the Daily Herald. DuPage County Assistant State's Attorney Amanda Mendel claimed authorities were alerted to Kroll after the messaging app KIK contacted the National Center for Missing and Exploiting Children about a user viewing and distributing child pornography. Kroll is a senior banker by trade and also was vice president of the Naperville-based Kids Matter organization, a nonprofit which offers support services to approximately 45,000 young people throughout Will and DuPage counties. The DuPage County State's Attorney said the allegations against Kroll are not associated with Kids Matter, but following Wednesday's arrest, he was removed from the board position. Wise on their part. Kroll's Kids Matter profile has been pulled from their website, but previously stated that he joined the organization to help identify the potential warning signs in areas of danger that impact today's kids and help empower them to be confident and compassionate adults. Kroll's next court date is scheduled for June 18. David O., City Councilman of Philadelphia, Special Committee on Child Separations in Philadelphia, in review. He writes, the Philadelphia Special Commission found that in 2017, the city of Philly removed more children per capita than any major city in the U.S., 3 times more than New York and 4 times more than Chicago. The commission was set with a task to determine why. The committee divided itself into subcommittees, then made several recommendations. Councilman O states he agrees with these recommendations. On policy and procedure, the commission found faulty reporting and wrongful removals. This was due to several issues. Poverty is interpreted as neglect. Neglect has no standard definition. Children who could remain in their home with support were removed. Record keeping and reports were faulty. Children who were witnesses to domestic violence in the home were removed, which caused more trauma for the child and hindered the reporting of domestic violence. You think? Mandating reporting removes the reasonable discretion of professionals. Families were not provided adequate notice of their constitutional rights, including Miranda rights against self-incrimination. Siblings were confiscated at birth when a parent had a history with the system without an assessment of the ability of the parent. Minorities were being disproportionately impacted. And, finally, centralized registries were being used without due process. On DHA and family court, parents were not adequately represented once they entered the system. Children's true interest and constitutional rights were not being represented. Family court systems were closed and secretive. Cases would linger in the system without resolution. Some of the recommendations ring a familiar tone and must be applied broadly across the United States. The list boils down to something like this. The court should be open for public viewing. This helps to provide citizen and press oversight. The purveyors and can be given restrictions on the names and identity of the children and parents could move the court to close the proceeding. All social workers must wear body cams and record all interviews and meetings. All cases must be completed on a timely basis. Child representation needs to follow the model of the American Bar Association and not the historic best interest model. Parents need quality representation and a multidisciplinary approach to resolving their involvement with CPS. Families need to have effective counsel earlier in the process. The Commission found that waiting until the parents were already facing litigation was too late. They needed earlier representation and an early Miranda warning. I'm giving you one now. If CPS ever comes to your door, read what Miranda says. It applies. That the refusal to cooperate with CPS alone should never be a reason for removal of a child. That's what they do. If you don't cooperate, we're taking them now. They say that all the time. That neglect would needed a clearer definition and should not be a reason for removal unless there was a sufficient evidence to show harm to the child. Most of the neglect cases in Philly were poverty-related. The commission declared that poverty in and of itself was never a cause for removal. The determinations of capacity and fitness to parent needed to consist of independent assessments. Mandatory reporting needed to end. Amen. Does it ever? We're not Russia. Oh, we are. We don't want to be anymore. A little good news to report, and I actually forgot who sent it to me, but 29 child sex and human traffickers have been arrested in Phoenix. Dubbed April Fools, but announced in May, the undercover operation targeting the demand for child sex crimes and human trafficking netted 29 male arrests. Throughout the operational period, undercover detectives placed ads on websites commonly sought out by suspects seeking illegal sex acts with minors. The suspects allegedly solicited and/or brokered deals for various sex acts and were subsequently arrested. Can we thank the street sweepers for this accomplishment? I say more. Shannon Henderson's little girl is at the mercy of these type of men. She was stolen in Phoenix from her loving mother, and it was by the largest human trafficking cartel on the planet, the U.S. government. And I'm going to end this with Shannon's many links and credit her for very hard work. She's relentless. She never gives up. Remember her on this Memorial Day. A widow is fighting for her life, and so that she can continue to fight for her child's life, who may not even be alive. God bless America.